Hello, Facebook fans and YouTube fans of DX Engineering. It's Friday afternoon here in the Eastern time zone of the USA. It's time for the weekend special. And speaking of special, we have a special guest today. And it's Ward Silver, N0AX from, is it St. Charles, Missouri?
Yes, St. Charles. Just west of St. Louis, the first capital of Missouri.
Very good. And Ward is on with us today. We're going to talk about a lot of subjects with Ward because Ward has his fingers in a lot of stuff in this hobby. And so Ward, let's start with one of the things you've been doing here recently is you've been blogging on the DX Engineering blog, which is onallbands.com. And how's that going? What are you writing about, Ward? What's interesting out there?
Well, let's see. I've covered pretty much everything from QSL cards to SWR. So there's a lot of territory in there. And I get a list of interesting things to write about, and I pick a few, and off we go. Test instruments, the kind of gear that everybody should have, some gadgets, things about transmission lines, that sort of stuff. Try to pick topics that are the kind of thing that when I was just getting started, it was like, what is this? What am I supposed to do? I know some words. What does it really mean? Those are the topics that I'm most interested in, I think.
Well, that's great. And because, you're a great resource. You have a lot of good experience, and you're around a lot of people that have other experiences that you leverage as well. And so, I really appreciate your contributions to the blog. And we have several blog writers that are doing on all bands work, and we try really hard to keep that fresh. On all bands continuing to add content. So that's very good. Speaking of content, this is a bestseller on the New York Times list. Well, not
there
exactly.
You go. We can see it good. Yes.
But this is one of my favorite books. This is The Grounding and Bonding for the Radio Amateur that you wrote. And what a great book this is, Ward.
It was. It came out of a hands-on radio, which is sort of like on all bands, but it was a QST column. And in early 2016, wrote a column called "The Myth of RF Ground," and that and the two subsequent columns generated more correspondence than anything in 15 years. So there was clearly a lot of interest. And people were coming out of the woodwork with questions about all sorts of things. So I said, ARRL HQ publications, the information is all out there. It's just spread all over. Why don't we try to bring it together and make a small book that people could use? And it turned out to be great. I had some wonderful reviewers, K9YC and the ARRL Lab and Dale Svetnoff, WA9, ENA, and Ron Block, NR2B. These guys were terrific. They all have deep expertise, kept me from making a lot of silly mistakes, and as a result, it's answered a lot of questions for people.
It really is great. It's straightforward. It's not too deep, but it's just deep enough. And right. So I certainly have pointed a lot of my friends to that book. And speaking of bloggers, Sean, KX9X, is on here today with us.
Hi, Sean.
We'll be talking to Sean down the road. And also we have N0AX and KG6 Yankee Tango Golf and November Lima 7 Delta in Tucson. And, of course, November Charlie 7 Bravo, who wrote a nice article about his verticals that is on all bands, and W0GUY. And here's W9XT. He said, when Ward's grounding book came out, I told him it was the most boring amateur radio book I read in years, but it's the most important. Not as cool as antennas, but safety is most important too. And so thumbs up from W9XT. And Papa 5 Radio Tango from Brazil, and November 0 Alpha Oscar in nearby Kansas, Ward. Ward, several years ago, you wrote the book Ham Radio for Dummies.
Mm-hmm.
And
third edition.
Third edition. How many copies of that do you think are out there?
Somewhere over 30,000 now.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow. 30,000. And do you get emails about that book?
Yes, I get regular correspondence. The thing that's the best, though, is somebody will send me a picture, say, I just passed my technician license, and they're holding up a copy of their book or something like that. It's just tries to answer questions about what is this ham radio thing? How do you go about getting a license? It's not a study guide. It's sort of a about the whole process. And then you got your license. Now what do I do? So there's all these questions. So I try to answer a few, not too deep, give them some references so they can go find out more about it. And so far, so good.
Well, that's great. That's a tremendous contribution, really, to the hobby. And we also have Dr. John, Kilo Bravo 3 Hotel on, and W7 Juliet Echo Tango. And from Denmark, it's Oscar Zulu 1 Delta Whiskey X-Ray. And Jamie Lee is on from Billings, Montana. And Bob, WD8NVN. And our friend Beat, Hotel Bravo 9 India Victor. He says, the beautiful DX Engineering
pajama.
Yeah, arrived at the same time as the cold days here. Top class. Nice weekend to all. He's also Kilo Charlie 3 Kilo Fox Zulu. You know, I know we sell a lot of stuff, and I mean, you know, it's tens of thousands. But when Melanie brought in pajamas, I don't know when that happened, Ward.
Are they onesies?
I don't know.
With the little footies on the bottom?
I'm not sure, but as long as it's going to keep Beat nice and warm so he can be on the air, that's what we want.
Terrific.
We got Lonnie, Kilo 4 Kilo Zulu. And Ron says, I have several of Ward's grounding books on the shelf at work for our electricians. Look at that. That's neat. And if you have any questions for Ward, now's a great time to do it. Put it in the chat, and we'll talk about the questions. Speaking of books, you are heavily involved. You are the editor of the handbook and the antenna book.
And
right?
the antenna book, yep.
Yep.
All three license manuals.
Right. And you're involved in the question pool.
Yes, I contribute and edit and, you know, advise and things. I'm not part of the question pool committee. I work with the ARRL VEC. That's one of the positions on the committee. Yeah.
How big of a job is it to put together something like the ARRL handbook?
Well, for the big, highly revised editions where we touch everything, it takes about a year. And there may be 10 to 15 contributing authors or editors who have some kind of expertise, deep expertise, and they'll write something. And then I'll go through and collect a whole bunch of stuff. I'll throw out things that are obsolete and put in things that are new. And it takes most of a year, and then we try to deliver it to the printer late July, early August, and the elves get to working on it, and then it shows up at the end of September. For the smaller editions where we don't touch everything, it'll still take 6 months. It just takes a long time to get these things out.
Well, that's great, and I love the antenna book. That's a super, I mean, A to Z, everything's in there. And our friend Michael, W3MLJ, is on, and then Andy, 2 Echo 0 Radio Echo Echo, and Steve, November Alpha 5 Charlie, and Ash, 3 Victor 8 Sugar Sugar, is on, says, thanks for promoting the hobby, Ward. And Ash, nice to have you on.
Hi, Ash. Any call that begins with a number is great.
And we have W2 Alpha Echo Whiskey, and November 5 Echo Radio Victor. And thank you for these helpful live streams. And there's Melanie in the sweatshirts. So I guess if the sweatshirt is long enough, it's good for pajamas. There we go. And so let's see.
This is great. I'm working on my sweepstakes sweep and DXCC at the same time.
That's right. Sugar Victor 8 Golf Golf India on from Greece.
Sas Fristo.
So speaking of DX and faraway locations and call signs that start with 3 or a number, let's talk about, you are president of Yasme. So give our viewers a little bit of a background on Yasme, and then why don't you talk about one of your most recent projects?
Right. Okay, Yasme, the word Y-A-S-M-E, is derived from a Japanese word yasumi that means peace or contentment. And it's the name of a boat that our original progenitor, I guess, Danny Weil, VP2VB, he decided to stop being a watchmaker in England in the early 50s and to go to sea. So he bought this boat and built it back up and decided his first big sailing project would be a solo crossing of the Atlantic. And somebody said, hey, you really ought to take some ham radio gear along so you can talk to these guys while you're out there. So turned out to be a real good op. And this is in 1953, 54, I think. He wound up in the Caribbean, and back in those days, you didn't just fly to all the Caribbean islands. Some of them were quite rare and hadn't even been on the air. This is right after World War II. So he started activating them, and one thing led to another, and he became very popular, and this foundation was formed to defray his expenses so he could keep doing this. It also bought him a couple of more boats because Yasme 1 hit a rock and sank. Yasme 2 sank in the Coral Sea, and it was just like in Jaws where he was clinging to the mast, and the Australian Navy rescued him, and he could see the sharks swimming around the boat. So anyway, Danny was active until 1963, and then Lloyd and Iris Colvin got involved, and the foundation took care of their QSLs and other things up until the early 90s. And so since the 90s, it's been primarily a foundation for promoting projects around the world for amateur radio. We like these little projects that help make a difference, keep a club on the air in a rare place, or pay for some travel expenses or something like that. And last year we got a nice grant from the Amateur Radio Digital Communications Group, and they enabled us to make 2 large grants. One was to the Open Research Institute, and they work on various satellite and other advanced technology projects. And then the one that Tim's referring to is what we call the global or the worldwide RBN, Reverse Beacon Network project. I'm also involved with a group called HAMSCI, H-A-M-S-C-I, that exists. It's a bunch of researchers, professional academics, and other researchers who are interested in geophysics and space weather. And the Reverse Beacon Network is a series of automated receivers that receive RTTY, FT4, FT8, and CW signals from around the world on the HF bands, primarily HF and 6 meters, and decode it and then post a spot. So I heard the signal with the following signal strength, and here I am. So it's sort of a, instead of transmitting from a location and then you hear it, it listens to you. And you can tell where the band is open from your location. Anyway, there were some big gaps in coverage. Most of the nodes are in North America and Europe and the Pacific Rim. So the researchers had an interest, and the RBN has an interest. And so can we get some of these receivers in some of these underserved locations like the Pacific Islands, deep South America, maybe the Caribbean, other places like that, Central Asia. And so we used the money from ARDC to purchase 15 sets of equipment that are being shipped around the world to various hosts to put an RBN node, is what they're called, onto the network. And each node consists of a DX Engineering ARRV4 active antenna, which is basically a 3-meter whip, and an impedance conditioning amplifier that feeds 75 ohms back to the receiver, and then a red pitaya, a great name, but red pitaya is a general purpose signal processing unit, and it's configured as a software-defined receiver. It's a 16-bit receiver, and it listens to the output of the ARRV4 on the HF bands. The skimmers, the automated receiving software, runs on a host PC, and the spots go out over the internet to the reverse beacon network and show up on a DX cluster or spotting network near you, right in your shack. And so we hope to, in a very few weeks, have 8 new nodes in Russia, all the way from Kazakhstan all the way to Vladivostok in the far eastern provinces. We have a couple in the Caribbean. KP2RUM will be on. He's already been on a little bit. And then we have 2 nodes in the Pacific. 3 Delta 2 Alpha Golf, Antoine has his node already running, and 5W1AS Atsu will have one in Samoa. So we're going to fill in some holes on the map, generate some research information, generate some tasty spots, and see where we go from there.
Well, that is a great project, Ward, and congratulations to Yasme for heading this up and making sure that everything gets put together correctly. If you are curious about the reverse beacon network, one easy way to see what's going on is you can actually see what the receivers at K3LR here, and you can go to the K3LR homepage, which is www.k3lr.com. And on that front page, you'll see a little button that says CW Skimmer. And if you click on that button, it will show you the 6 bands worth of information that are being received here on the K3LR antennas. So if you want to see what K3LR hears, you just go to that button, click on it, and it shows you the output of the software-defined receivers here at K3LR. And it's on 24 hours a day, and it does have to share the antennas with contesting and things like that from time to time, but for the most part it's there. Especially the 160-meter thing is really got some great antennas that are aimed at Europe full-time. So let's see, we have Sugar Juliet 2 Whiskey on with us, and Rick, Kilo Charlie 8 Sierra Uniform Lima, I think that is, from I'm sorry, Sierra Uniform India. And our friend Ron, K8 November Zulu, is on, and Eric, November Mike 5 Mike, on from Texas. Rodrigo, Papa Uniform 3 Radio Charlie Bravo, and WB9 Yankee Bravo Lima says, Yankee Bravo India says RBN is cool. Rick Smith says, are there plans to have a node in Kenya, in Africa?
Well, we're close. And I want to point out that Ash 3V8 Sugar checked in, and he has also put up a node. He's putting up 3 in North Africa, and that was another Yasme project. And on the RBN, before I forget, if you want to hear whether you're being heard, just get on the air and call CQ a few times, and then go and search the RBN for your call sign. And within 10 seconds, RBN receivers from around the world will start publishing where you can be heard and how loud. It's just fascinating. Hey, Rick, you want to be an RBN host? Send me an email. N0AX at ARRL.net works, and we'll talk. There's a lot of places around the world that need RBN nodes.
So we got Michael says, this is W3MLJ, says, love the RBN, helps seeing how good the antennas are. And from Caraco, it's Papa Juliet 2 Bravo Radio. And then
that's one of our Yasme Excellence Award winners as of yesterday.
Yes, congratulations, Brett. And Rich posted the K3LR link there for getting to the skimmer. www.k3lr.com/skimmer. And then we have Steve, W4 Delta Tango Alpha, and John, Whiskey X-Ray 5 Oscar United, and Whiskey 6 Sierra Charlie, Jim. And Brian says, the RBN is the SOTA ops, SOTA ops best friend. Really appreciate the spotting. It helps when calling CQ from a summit. And we have Kilo Echo 8 Oscar Tango Hotel on from Michigan, and Valerio India Uniform 3 Bravo Tango Yankee. So Ward, what other interesting projects do you have coming up? What are you thinking about? What's going on in your future? What are you doing this weekend?
Well, I emptied my ham radio bank account a couple of weeks ago on Sweepstakes CW. That's fun. Got on and went single op high power for first time in a long time. I've also been working with the nearby college club. I went to school at the Missouri University of Science and Technology, and their call sign is W0EEE, which is a great CW call sign. And they had some antenna issues and needed some work on that, so I helped them find W2 Gulf Delta. And John flew out in September and climbed up the tower and then climbed up the mast. That was exciting.
Nope.
And got them all pointed in the right direction and tightened down, and they're back on the air. So that was a fun thing. And working on various antenna designs here. Always have more books going on. I have a granddaughter now, so that's kind of interesting. She's not a ham yet. She's only 15 months old, but I'm working on it. And I'll have to get her a Morse code key at some point if her mother doesn't kill me. And various other things. You can watch Sean's on All Bands blog about satellites. I think the next satellite, he was actually here and was helping me get my satellite kit configured. So now I have a pair of egg beater antennas to work the FM satellites, and I can hear the ISS go over. And I've got a little bag now, and I've had a portable antenna. You've seen Sean's picture out there waving the portable Yagi around. So now I can do that. Got my my kit all together. I just need to get a little time and some nice weather to go do it. So there's no shortage whatsoever of projects. So
well, this is the best hobby in the world, so that's why there's no end to it. There's no end. And Brett says, thanks for giving us this wonderful award. Ward, we really appreciate it. From Papa Julia 2 Bravo Radio.
And our friend Helena too, PJ2 Zulu Zulu, yes.
PJ2 Zulu Zulu as well. And our friend Jim Simpson is on from the Dayton area. It's Kilo Fox 8 Juliet. Jim is one of the over 700 volunteers that makes Hamvention happen.
Wow.
So, great guy to have around. Jim also has been working on a 4-H project down there with Dara, and I think we need to feature that here on one of the shows.
We have the livestock barn is part of the fairgrounds. So, and we got hams. So hams, livestock, 4-H. We just mash it all up and do a really interesting project.
Right, and
Reese's ham.
It goes together. It's sort of like a Reese's cup, right?
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Ward, we want to thank you very much for coming on today. Ward is one of our bloggers that blogs on allbands.com. If you haven't checked it out, Check it out on allbands.com. Great information, good reading. The events calendar is there, so you can see who's going to be on the various shows here that we do on YouTube and on Facebook Live. And we want to thank all of you, all the viewers, all the customers of DX Engineering. And we hope that you get on the air this weekend, have a lot of fun, and we'll see you on Tuesday for Tuesdays with Tim and Jeff. For now, Tim, K3LR, and Ward, N0AX, 73 from DX Engineering.
73.